Welcome to the Strongman Say podcast.
Speaking of.
Yeah, that's a great intro. Today's episode, we're going to be talking predominantly about a bit of a tricky subject, I guess, like going from novice to pro. So, I don't know, whatever the fuck that means. There's no real pro here. But I guess going from novice or beginning to being good to winning like a national title, I guess, is kind of like what we would be getting at. Why don't you start? Like, I mean, obviously, you're at that level. You started somewhere, and now you
At novice?
Started at...
Doing all right.
Did you do a novice comp?
There weren't novice comps when I started.
I don't think... I did novice powerlifting comp.
There were just comps.
Yeah, there were just comps. I did novice powerlifting comp. What's your story? Go from the start. Tell us, like...
My story.
But you got to start from before. You can't just start from, like, strongman. Like, because that's... I actually... had this kind of like conversation with the client over the weekend. They were sort of like express something, and I said like, I've been doing this 10 years, right, to be good, and like, but that's not my. And he was comparing himself to other people, and I was like, training age. Like you've been training for 2 years, right? Yeah. This person you've been comparing yourself to has been training for 10 years, but strongman for 2.
Yep.
No fucking wonder they're getting like results faster, right?
Yeah.
Go talk to me.
Training age. How far back do we go? It actually doesn't have to go back that far.
Monkey bars don't count it like Gabe Forkinder.
Back in 1988, a mum and a dad loved each other very much. So in terms of gym, I think the first time I really walked... Oh, I did it in school.
Fourth time you walked?
No, walked into a gym, I was going to say.
I thought we had this conversation about how far we're going back, but I got confused for a second.
No, like I did surf life-saving stuff,
Yeah.
Rugby league as
So
a
active,
kid, standard things. Did little bits of gym in high school, but that was the sport that you picked if you didn't actually want to do sport.
Yeah.
Because you just walk around the gym and just mess about.
Yeah. Those who can't teach gym.
Yeah.
Those
like
who
you can go do
those
soccer.
who can't sport do gym.
Yeah. It's like you can go do soccer or you can do this. And I'm like, I actually have to run.
Yeah.
And someone's going to watch me do it. Whereas the gym, you can kind of just do whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably like 19.
Yeah.
Because I spent, after footy, pretty much just skating, snowboarding, wakeboarding,
When you say
kiteboarding.
footy, AFL or like rugby?
Rugby.
Yeah, okay.
From New South.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Actual, real football.
Right. Josh, you wouldn't like that one.
Wow. Unbelievable.
It's just the eternal argument.
Yeah.
My only defense is for that, every other sport gets played somewhere else in the world. AFL is the only one that doesn't.
Because no one's
Only
fucking hot enough.
Just no one's cared to take it on. Why is that? What is that?
Yeah.
No one's gone, oh, that's pretty cool. Maybe we'll try that.
True.
So, yeah, probably about 19.
Yeah.
And I think it was my parents that got the gym membership. And they're like,
Yep.
oh, yeah, my brother will go and I'll go. And I'm like, yeah, I'll come along. And
Like
that's about.
fam gym membership.
Yeah.
Like local community centre.
Yeah, real small.
Yeah.
And then eventually mum and dad stopped going and just got bored with it.
Yeah.
And then my brother eventually stopped going and I just didn't.
Yeah.
Ever. Like I was really
Here we are.
surprised because like when I was skating, I'd walk
Yeah.
past people that like would come in and out of the gym or like bigger guys. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
wanker.
Yeah.
Walking around
Just
like
very
this.
different world. Like,
Yeah.
how's that imaginary lad syndrome going for you, bro?
Yeah. Just laughing at
Are
those
you
people.
smoking bongs and doing kickflips?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think because half the guys that I played footy with kept playing football
Yeah.
and they were in there.
Yeah. Wankers also. Oh, no,
Very
we
much.
like you. They're all right. no,
Yeah.
man.
But I think learning to be bad at something again.
Yeah.
Because I'd walk in and grab like 15, 20 kilo dumbbells and just fail.
Be
And I'm
shaky.
like, I don't know why I'm failing.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt. I just can't keep going. And then like those guys that kept playing footy and training would just like pop up heavier dumbbells. And I'm like, oh, I'm a little bitch.
God
I don't
damn
like
it, on the
this.
bottom of the food chain again.
Yeah. So did that for probably 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then as everyone does, you just do that. And then you look at bodybuilding
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, oh, that's the obvious thing to go to.
Yeah.
Looking
Yeah,
back
it's
on
the
it
gym
now,
bro
it's-
thing.
Yeah.
When you're a gym bro, the next thing is bodybuilding.
Look at
That's all you
bodybuilding,
got.
I'm like, I could do that maybe. Do a comp.
I think that's our age showing as well, maybe.
Yeah.
Like back in our day, back when we were like 15, 16, I mean, you're 19 or whatever. But like that was kind of, if you went to the gym, that's all that was kind of around.
Yeah.
Like powerlifting, or like strength sports, like CrossFit wasn't really a thing by that point.
No.
So there wasn't really an evolution besides bodybuilding when like I started and like when Leigh was 19, when now, you know, because of social media, it's very different. Like we got 16-year-old kids in here pulling huge weights and they're absolutely crushing it. And I guess that was their evolution, was like, oh, cool, like I'm going to become a TikTok lifter. No, am I going to do powerlifting?
Yeah.
Or am I going to do like strongman or whatever it is? But like back when we started, like that wasn't like strength sports, wasn't an evolution. Everyone just did bodybuilding. Like if you went to the gym, the next big thing or the next thing you did wasn't go do a powerlifting comp or strongman or whatever. I mean, it depends what gym you're in, but it was just bodybuilding, right?
Yeah. We didn't have Larry Wheels.
Yeah.
We had Ziz.
Yeah, we
That's the difference. That's the only person that you would see that would half do anything, that would train, and you're like, he looks kind of jacked. He looks kind of lean. He's going to festivals. He's living the life.
Yeah. I wasn't a Ziz fan.
You Myron?
Yeah, you Myron, bro.
I hated it when I was younger.
Yeah.
And then as I got older, I look back on it now and I'm like, I can appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate it more now. At the time, I was a bit elitist for that already.
So yeah, went and prepped myself for a bodybuilding comp.
Yep.
Me being me, I'm like, how hard can it be?
Yep.
But actually looked up everything and I'm like, okay, this is how I track everything. This is what I need to do. This is what some random forum, whatever I found on the internet, this is how much I should eat. Worked it all out. Did, like an IFBB comp in New South. And was like 70 kilos and tiny.
IFBB.
Yeah. I'd have like old pictures of me where I'm real
Seen
small. Real small.
Yeah.
Very, very small. So did that. Enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Like the process was horrible, but I learnt so much and I got so much better at it. And then the next year, hired like a friend as a coach to do like the nutrition side of things, and got about 6 weeks out and was like, I hate this.
Yeah.
Because my approach was basically starve through the week, super low carbs, super low calorie, and then big refeed on the weekend.
Yeah.
So my whole world revolved around like
like
that weekend.
Day,
Yeah. And then it just really got out of hand.
Yeah.
And then he went with more of like just a strict approach, like plain chicken, plain veggies, everything. So I got 6 weeks out and I was just like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I hate this. And then saw people doing CrossFit.
Yeah.
So at the time I was at like Doherty's out at Dandenong
Yeah.
with bodybuilding people.
Yeah.
Dark gym, lifting heavy weights, wearing stringers. And then was just like,
missed you.
would have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would have done it just before you, I reckon.
And then saw people doing CrossFit stuff, which I'd once again previously hung shit on.
Yeah.
The same with the guys that actually went to the. It seems to be a trend. Everybody I laugh at.
Yeah.
A couple of years later, I become like, oh, gym guys wearing stringers.
Yeah.
Wankers. 2 years later, I'm like,
Damn it.
yeah, CrossFit is pussies. 2 years later,
Damn it.
and then I would have looked. Actually, I'm pretty sure at that stage I would have posted something about like, big fat strong guys can be as strong as they want, but they're still fat.
Yeah, that's a skinny guy thing to post.
They're still
too.
fat. Yeah, they'll always be fat. Years later.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it.
But I'm strong.
Yeah. So, went and did that because it was all about like, I saw people climbing ropes and doing handstands and doing fun stuff that I used to do when I'd skate.
Yeah.
Like there's no mirrors.
Like big kid again.
Yeah. Because I got to the stage where I'd stand in front of the mirror and be like, am I getting bigger?
Yeah. So
am I getting
subjective.
leaner?
Yeah.
To the point where I just look at it every day and be like, I'm going backwards.
Yeah.
I'm getting worse.
Yeah.
And yeah, went and did that and it was so much fun.
Yeah.
So much fun. All that mattered was what I did. So me coming from bodybuilding, don't know how to clean anything, don't know how to use my whole body. So my push press was like, do this.
Yeah. So a big
And then
adjustment
press.
of that being shit again, skill acquisition, feeling like the small fish in the big pond kind of thing again.
Yeah, going into CrossFit and they're like, look, you're really strong. You just have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that shows potential.
And what a great precursor to, or like what a perfect storm to start Strongman too.
Yeah.
Coming from bodybuilding, a whole heap of accessory, hypertrophy work, you get some size on, you start to develop some coordination, some like mind muscle connection, whatever you want to call it.
Whatever
Do you
you
know what I
call
mean?
it, yeah.
Yeah, like, and then you move into, so you take that like built cross-sectional area and like your new physique, and throw it into something where there's potential to develop some more skill to learn how to create extension or full body extension, triple extension better, do all these fun coordinated movements and start to move weight. So, I mean, what better two precursors to the next evolution, which obviously was Strongman.
Yeah, looking back on it, it all mixed so well by accident.
Perfectly.
Even the way that I did bodybuilding.
Yeah.
A lot of volume, every different angle I could try to hit. And I didn't like barbell stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't deadlift. I didn't really squat because I was bad at them.
Yeah.
Benching hurt my shoulders, so I just did dumbbells.
Yeah.
So I could press like 45, 50 kilo dumbbells for like 2 or 3 reps.
Yeah.
And I could bench the same weight on a barbell.
Yeah.
As dumbbells.
Yeah.
And then now, years later, I'm like, my shoulders are just so stable. I have no instabilities. I have no like weakness here.
Yeah.
And it's because I just sat there with dumbbells.
So many. Yeah.
Doing a heap of work. And then, CrossFit started using barbells, started trying to push press.
Yeah.
Learn how to squat.
Like skill acquisition more so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think then my deadlift was like 210 or 220 and it was hard and ugly. Did that for about a year.
Yeah.
Realized that doing the group classes were super limiting and I was like, I need to get stronger at weightlifting. I need to do that because I want to be better.
Yeah.
Me being me, I'll walk into a place and I'm like, okay, how do you be the best?
Yeah.
What's the best? And they're like, oh, people go to regionals and then they do this. And I'm like, okay, I want to try and do that.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So like,
where do I sign up?
Yeah. Do the 40-minute class. And they're like, you can play around after if you want. And I saw someone doing muscle ups and I'm like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it takes a long time. Like you have to practice and do this with rings. And I'm like, can't I just try? And just every day after the group class, I would jump up there and do that until my arms wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And then like 3 weeks later, I was like, up.
Yeah.
And they're like, you picked that up quick. I'm like, well, spent like half an hour a day until I can't every single day.
Yeah.
Did the same with handstands. I'm like, I want to be able to handstand. Yeah. And just kept hammering that. So by the time I got to the end, the guy that ran it wanted me to do more of the classes. And you're not really allowed to do what you want to do. At least back then.
Nah,
it was a bit more regimented. Now they don't care as much.
Sort of like you have open training times, but if you're doing the class, you're doing the class, right?
Yeah, that didn't have open training times at the time.
Yeah.
So it was just when the classes were on, and the free time that you had was like the little gap between classes, and then you had to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And I think it was Smitty that was like, "Oh, there's this like Strongman thing."
Yeah. So this is at the point where you went to Strong Melbourne, which was the first Strongman gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was doing CrossFit, and Smitty was doing CrossFit at Frankston as well, and even like Alira. Back in the day was training there. Real weird how it's all come about. And he's like, oh, they do strongman stuff. I've seen ESPN where they lift balls and the standard stuff. So we'd go and do that on a Saturday. And it was just way more freedom. You just pick stuff up.
Yeah.
It was the same thing as when I started CrossFit, the same thing as when I started bodybuilding. You just go in and do stuff. And you're bad at it.
Yeah.
Again.
Of course. Yeah.
And then it eventually got to the point where I was more hanging to go there, or I was going there through the week.
CrossFit.
And then I was like, I haven't gone to CrossFit for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Why do I still pay for it?
Yeah.
I should just drive up and do that. And then, transition to that. But then Strong Melbourne had no machines. It was
a very true strongman gym.
It was like a CrossFit box turned strongman gym. So it had no machines.
Yeah.
Very limited dumbbells.
Big space too. It was a cool gym looking back on it, you know.
So the training there was no accessories. Yeah. It was just like, we're just going to do log, and then we might do yoke, and then we might do something else.
Yeah.
So went completely flipped the other way.
Yeah.
And I could only bench because we only had 20 kilo dumbbells.
Yeah.
And then I got good at bench.
Yeah.
Because I finally figured out how to do it. Someone's
Yeah.
like, if you just arch and do this, this, and this, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I can do 20 kilos more this way.
So
This is cheating.
yeah, so there's obviously the lead up of this like perfect storm of like you've just found strongman, but you've gone through this bodybuilding phase, then you've had this like brief interlude of CrossFit where you've developed some skills, you've learned how to move your body again, gotten a little bit fitter, and then sort of gone, oh well, I really want to get stronger, I want to get better at this, and it's led you into like doing strongman. So now you're doing strongman stuff, and you're in the gym, and you're doing just kind of the main event work, right? Like pretty, and not a heap of accessory stuff. Now, I guess the big question, so that's sort of presetting the training age thing. So at this point in time, you know, 32, 33, how old are you now? 32?
34.
34. I was trying to be kind. What's this? So probably almost like 8 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So like let's
About
say
that.
8 years ago, and before you even touched a strongman implement, how long had you been training relatively seriously? What's that? 19 to 26, so 7 years, 6, 7 years.
Yeah, about that.
Right. So now there's a 6-7 year iceberg, or like, you know, like
And that
big
was-
base below the tip of the iceberg,
Yep.
and now we step into strongman.
Yeah. And back then, you know, when you were a gym bro back then, if you went on a holiday, you found a gym.
Oh yeah,
I did not miss a session.
I think
Back
for the
then.
first 10 years of training, I don't think I took more than a week off training ever.
No.
And if I could help it, like if I couldn't help it, I took a week off.
No, I was doing like 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Knew I was doing too much and did not care.
Bro, when I was at school,
I was obsessed.
when I was at school, I would hang out for school holidays so I could train twice a day. And I would do the Arnold Schwarzenegger encyclopedia of bodybuilding workout where you hit like one body part or two body parts in the morning and then go back into the gym and hit another body part in the night. Like,
Yeah.
just fucking obsessed.
Obsessed. Yeah.
100%. And then so now you're a novice strongman and now you're a pro strongman. 8 years of doing the same thing.
Yep.
How do you close the gap? Like, what do you feel like are some of the key things on that journey that people can take home? If they're watching this and they go, oh, like I've started off in strongman and now I want to be a pro. Where do you think those steps are? Like, are there turning points? Are there things that people need to be aware of? Are there certain elements along that journey that they need to consider? Or is it just, you just need to keep showing up for 8 years and keep doing the work and progress is progress?
I think up until a point, you just keep showing up and you'll get a certain way along.
Yeah.
You'll fall into that intermediate bracket, wherever that falls.
Yeah.
If you just keep turning up, don't be too stupid, don't break yourself too hard.
Yeah.
That's the biggest setback.
I think
is
novice to intermediate's pretty easy jump.
Yeah.
It's the intermediate to advanced.
Yeah. It's like the higher you go with everything, the more people fall off. And that's why there's only a couple of people for anything.
Yeah.
Anything in life, you can relate that to.
I mean, a big part of that intermediate to advanced jump, first and foremost, plateaus.
Yep.
Like beginner to intermediate, it's all happy days, right? Like training is fun, it's enjoyable. Progress comes thick and thin. Injuries, niggles don't accumulate too much. And it's kind of that like experimental infatuation. I'm in love with strongman. I'm going to post every workout and check in everywhere I go phase, right?
Yep.
And then you hit the wall somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
And it becomes less fun and sexy, and it becomes like you're banging your head against a brick wall until you see progress again.
It goes from like a healthy obsession to completely flipping the other way.
Yeah.
So you have to be pretty stubborn and want it for whatever reason you find.
Yeah.
Even if it's like, for me, I just want to be the best at something.
Yeah.
And I just never feel like I am even if someone said I was the best, I'm like, yeah, but there's this person or there's this comp. Like,
Yeah.
So those two together for me, I just don't stop.
Yeah.
Because I want to be the best, but
Yeah.
never feel like I'm the best. So it just kind of keeps making
which
me
is
better.
kind of like the big contributing factor, I think, for you from a mental, like psychological athlete point of view.
Yeah.
If you had, just trying to put this to make it tangible for anyone watching and they want to be a pro or they want to be at the highest level and they're sort of in that novice to intermediate stage, like 3 things that you think are sort of paramount or 3 things that novices need to take into account, or intermediates need to take into account to make that step or make it as a advanced or pro athlete?
That whole goal setting, you know, the whole cliche thing of like, stop looking at the end goal, make short attainable goals and things like that. Do that with comps. Do that with people. Like, it's okay to want to compete against somebody, or it's okay to want to beat somebody. It's not a personal attack. So you can find somebody that's just better than you and be like, okay, I would love to be able to beat them one day, because I think they're really strong. I think they're at this level. And if I can compete with them, or if I can beat them, all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm getting somewhere. So don't look at Usain Bolt and be like, I can't run that fast, so what's the point? And beat yourself down because of it. It's like, just
chase down people along the way.
You pick the next level, or you pick the next comp up. And go, okay, I can't do those weights. But if I can do that comp and I can do those weights and I am competitive, then that's a step. So I think, and that's when we started, you didn't know who was at the top. No one was at the top. Like, we're all just novice.
We're trying to figure out who was at the top. That's what comps were for.
And it takes time to figure that out. So we're all just trying to beat each other on the same level at different comps. And all the comps were kind of the same level. There was Australia's Strongest Man and the people that had been doing it for a little while. But they were all heavyweights.
They weren't novice and intermediate and qualifiers and all that sort of stuff. It was just comps.
No, you didn't like pigeonhole everybody into these little different things. So it was easy for us.
Cool.
And there was no Instagram.
To compare
nobody was posting.
Not hugely.
Powerlifting and strongman lifts, even at the top level. So you didn't look at the end goal and go, oh.
It was far harder to find, to measure yourself against.
That's why, you know, Terrence from like South Africa? That's why people like him are so strong. Because he comes from a small village, small town. He doesn't have access to social media. He comes over here and deadlifts like 350 as a 90, and he doesn't know it's good. Because he's the only person that trains in his town. He has no understanding of what's good or bad. So he just pushes himself. And then he comes over and everyone's like, that's messed up. He's like, oh, is it though? Like one of the Arnold's comps, he was going to win the deadlift in the 90s. And he's come out and he's like, oh, what did that guy just get? And Run's like, oh, he did 9 reps. The guy did like 2 reps. And Terrence is like, oh, got out, ripped through 10 reps. And then Run's just laughing, just like, he only got 2. Like, you won by a mile.
Strategic.
So like not knowing where anybody else is
wearing at the competition. Slight dog. See what he's up to there.
So like not knowing where anybody else is at can be a huge benefit, and that's the whole staying in your lane.
So one is chasing down someone just above you. 2, realize that you're going to probably sacrifice a bit of stuff. A bit of health. A lot of time. Bit of family time, work time. Like, not for the whole year. But there's going to be times where life is going to get sacrificed. I think people forget that, like, everyone wants to be a bodybuilder, but no one wants to lift that heavy ass weights. And it's like, you're a bodybuilder, you don't really have to lift that heavy. But like the sentiment is kind of the same or the similar in terms of, like, everyone wants to be good. Everyone wants the idea. Everyone likes the idea of being the best until it comes time to do shit that makes you the best. Right? Like, everyone wants to be the best at something, or they see other people have things or their accomplishments, or they see that they are the best at something and they go, oh man, like, I want to be the best. I want to have that. I want to be able to achieve that. Until it actually comes time, until push comes to shove and you got to do things that make someone the best, until you actually have to sacrifice, push, or like suffer enough to make you the best. And then suddenly you don't want to be the best that bad, do you? Like, suddenly it's like, oh, nah, that's fucking hard. Like, oh, yeah. Oh, you just had to sacrifice something. Oh, you didn't get home in time for dinner. Oh, like, you had to walk in the rain. Oh, you had to, like, bleed a little bit. Oh, you felt shit for 6 weeks on end because you were tired because you're pushing it to the nth degree. Oh, it's hard to be the best sometimes. I think people forget that, right? I think,
but you have to do that for a long time and not be the best.
We're not in the business of, like, making you live longer.
No.
Like someone's like, oh, you're a health and fitness coach. I'm not fucking health and fitness coach. Fuck off. Like I'm gonna get you on the podium, coach. You know what I mean? Like, don't come to me. Like some people, sure. Like I'm happy to like facilitate. I know how. Like eat moderately. Do you know what I mean? Like if you want to live longer, if you want to live healthily and live a little bit longer and live well, like walk every day, eat moderately and in moderation, but enjoy yourself. Yeah. But don't enjoy yourself too much. Like train vigorously, but not too vigorously and not too much. Like pretty much like the middle way, right? Like
be fit,
but
don't be too fit.
But don't push too hard.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Don't run a marathon because that's not healthy.
Yeah, that's
either.
not healthy, right? Like it's not. We're not in the business in terms of sacrificing health. Like if you want to do something to the extreme, you're gonna have to sacrifice probably. If you want to be the best, you're gonna have to sacrifice some health.
Yep.
Like it's an extreme sport. You think walking with a 400 kilo yoke is good for your body? Bow. Like no.
I used to get comments like that all the time where someone's like, "That can't be good for you."
Like
and
it's
I'm like,
fucking not.
Not at all.
But I got a trophy cabinet.
A trophy cabinet, and like the bad voice is quiet down.
And my head is quiet for the 60 seconds I've got 400 kilos on my back.
Because my blood pressure's through the roof and I can't
see
think straight.
it. And the darkness is closing in as I'm approaching the end line.
Yeah. You're like, I'm at peace. And then you wake up and you're like, oh, again.
Yeah, here we go, set 2.
Yeah. So there's plenty that I don't do.
Yeah.
Sure. Like we sit there and talk about, you have to be willing to do this, and this. There's plenty that I could be doing better.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Plenty of sleep that I could be doing better. I could be tracking food better. I could be in here doing small little 1% things. Like there's always stuff that can be done.
Yeah, definitely.
But I feel like the majority of it I've got covered. If I want to be stronger, I need to do those extra things, but I can't quite get there. Yeah. Whereas some other people do 50% and they can't quite get there for the other 50%, which is fine.
But you're at 90%.
But yeah, you're not going to be at the top.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I'm just willing to sacrifice a little bit more and miss out on a few. And then there's people at the top that tick every single box.
Yeah. 100%
and they're just
ridiculous. There's another gear.
Yeah.
There's another gear to be had.
There's
some people
always.
Yeah. So there's always
you
someone
can always be
stronger,
better.
right? Yeah, there's always be better.
Yep.
So number 2, sacrifice. Like there's going to be some sacrifice and stuff like that along the way to being great and hopefully understanding that. Number 3.
Hope that you get born by the right parents.
Yeah. When mummy and daddy get together, hope they've got good genetics.
Yeah.
True.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So I don't have the height.
Yeah. To be
by any means, but like both my parents have relatively thick lower bodies. I have wider shoulders. Yeah. Like if I was born this narrow, things would be very, very different. Yeah, sure. And that's just bone structure.
Man, my nana's fucking huge. My nana was fucking huge. Like my dad and my nana were like, I mean, I would have liked some of the Viking height. I got Dutch.
The height would be
great. I got Dutch like backgrounds. Like my dad was 6'2", my nana was like 6'2". They were fucking broad. My dad was an athlete, right? He was a fighter, a coach, a like football player, blah blah blah. My pa was a featherweight boxing champion. Like they're all athletic. Yeah, like they're all like my uncle on my dad's side got a wild card to go play the Oz Open. You know, like they're all really good fucking athletes. So like genetically, great. Just my mum was really short and fucked it for me. Otherwise, I would have got that Viking height. I could have been 140 kilos sitting here.
Yeah, had all of it.
Yeah, I've got it all. I was so close to ticking all the boxes.
Yeah,
but yeah, genetics is a huge one, right? Yeah,
and you just got to realize what's your advantage and what's your disadvantage.
Yeah, and play to that, I guess, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people are just born with larger lung capacities than others. Yep. And like if you don't have good lung capacity, probably don't go be a CrossFitter.
Yeah. Well, and that's
because like it's just always going to be hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess play to your strengths in terms of also understand that like if you love strongman, but genetically you're never going to be the best.
Yep.
Well, then just understand that like sports are not all inclusive by design.
Yep.
Right. Like I can't go play in the NBA. I mean, even if I was really, really good at basketball, which I am. No, I'm not at all.
Just throwing threes.
Yeah, I mean, I hit threes all day. No,
Just
I
don't
don't
come
at
near me.
all. Like, yeah, just in my. I can't play NBA.
Yeah.
Right. Like, just like if you like, I was watching like Drive to Survive, like the F1. Like, even if you're an amazing driver, you know, unless you've got the family money to get into it, you're probably not going to be a driver. Like, it's exclusive by design, right? So, understanding
That's like snow sports.
yeah,
Or wakeboarding.
you got to have a boat.
You got to be able to afford
You
to
got to be able to afford to go to the
snowboarding.
snow.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
So I guess
They're
like
definitely middle
understanding,
class sports.
yeah, understanding that like your genetics, literally by design, may exclude you from ever being at the top level. If you love strongman and you're happy to compete and play, then absolutely fine. But if you want to be the absolute best, I think some people have to realize like they're just not ever going to be. That's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
But
There'll always be an Islander that can lift more weight than you.
100%.
That has never trained.
Yeah, totally.
It's like, I think Tyler said it months ago on one of his stories. He put up a post and said something about like being natty and struggling to get through the volume. And I'm like, you're Maori, you can't say that.
Yeah.
That doesn't count.
It's the same thing, bro.
Yeah. But then, and it's the same with bodybuilding and gym bros. There's people that try to get past their genetics and take as much stuff as they possibly can.
Yeah.
And still suck.
Yeah, and still never reach the top.
Yeah, and then there's people that have absolutely no idea what they're doing, put no intelligent thought into thinking, and are ridiculously strong.
Totally. 100% all the time.
So that's always a huge factor.
Yeah, I think so. And I think
Which is a shit deterrent, because it's the whole like you can grow up to be anything. It's like
you can't.
you can, but
You can't.
we're not astronauts, and we all kind of wanted to be.
Yeah, and like just like geographical lottery, probably just not going to be an astronaut. I grew up in Australia.
Yeah.
like astronauts, like I'm either going to be in Russia or I'm going to be in America. Go figure. Most of those astronauts, unless I really, 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 really wanted to be an astronaut.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Then I'd have to work for it and get there. I mean, maybe you could be. Do you know what I mean? But the likelihood is much less, or the percentage of it is much less.
So if you're born here, maybe you've got no physical genetic capability to be a great strongman.
Yeah.
But you live here, you have a house, you have the money, you can buy the equipment, you can travel to the comps.
Yeah.
You have all of that.
Yeah. Huge advantages.
Meanwhile, there's someone in some European country, all the genetics to be the absolute best, no access to the internet, can't afford to travel, can't afford weights.
Totally.
They're at the opposite end. Like there's someone out there that has all the genetic potential physically, but is just born in the wrong country, and they're just sitting there like, cool, I can't get to that.
Yeah. And I think in terms of like access or talking about that sort of stuff, and like to bring it back a little bit, when we're talking about the journey from novice to advanced, it's like if you haven't had access previously and you're first, like people over there, when we started, there was no strongman gyms, there was no access.
Yeah.
Right. Like it didn't exist, which is why we had that precursor of like bodybuilding or like CrossFit or whatever it was.
Yep.
Well, now there's strongman gyms. And I think that's one thing where novices are maybe struggling as well, because their training age is 2 years and it's 2 years in strongman. And they're wondering why people are shooting ahead of them or people are ahead of them. I mean, I won't go into as much depth as like what Leigh did, but my training age is like, I'm 30 years old. Like my training age is like 15, 16 years. Do you know what I mean?
You just started walking and walked straight into a gym.
Fucking basically, hey. Like people were like, oh, you're so strong. Like I've been training for like 2 years. Like I've, got a 280. I'm like, that's huge, man. I've been training for 2 years and you got a 260 deadlift. That's enormous. Like I trained for 10 years and I didn't have a 250 kilo deadlift. Like I bought my first bench at an auction house because I asked Mum to get it for me. Or Mum, I had $40, and I went to like an auction house and they were selling like a weights plates and a bench, and I was like, Mum, can I bid on that? And she was like, yeah, sure. So we had like a bench and like a barbell in the gym. You know what I mean? Like got like plates and stuff in the garage. And my dad, one of the really good things that he did was when I first got this, I was like 14 maybe. 13, 14, he got me like a bodybuilding book, and I still remember it was like red cover, like OG bodybuilding book. And he said, before you go touch that bench, you have to read this book, like front to cover. And it was like OG, like guys in fucking trunks, like big bodybuilding, but it was like training programs and all that sort of stuff. So I read the book, covered it back, and he was like, all right, we'll pick a program out of there. So it was like a 3-day program, and he showed me how to do everything. So it was like, it was like barbell. My first program was like barbell squat, barbell bench press, barbell overhead. He put like rings on the rafts in the garage so I could do chin-ups and stuff like that. And I'd go in there and I'd put on Iron Maiden and get after it, you know, like 3 days a week.
So nothing has changed?
No, 100% since I was like 14.
So you just started strongman at 14, basically.
Yeah, like I was the OG garage gym.
Yeah, that's basically what this gym is now.
Yeah, 100%. So like that was me at like 13, 14. And I was consistent, but like semi-consistent. And then when I hit like 15, I wasn't allowed in the commercial gym till like 16, right?
Yep.
So I used to wake up in the morning at like 6, or like 5:36, go in and pay for a swim and sneak into the gym and go to the gym underage, 15, 16. And then when I was 16, I could finally go into the gym. So like my training age is really early. And I mean, by the time I hit 16 and I was at school, and I promise you, if we post this on my Instagram and anyone who follows me, who went to school with me, they'll absolutely back this 100%. Like at 16 years old, like I was already like split program, waiting for school holidays to come in so I could train twice a day. I would spend my Sunday calculating my macros for the week. My mum, like I was talking to Chats the other day, I'd wake up before school and I'd cook breakfast. So I'd cook my eggs and stuff like that for breakfast. And then I'd cook my rice and vegetables for my lunch and have like the same from 16 to 18. I'd have a big tin of tuna, a raw stalk of broccoli and rice for lunch. And I'd sit there in like bio class in like year 12 and eat my broccoli during class. Like I was just like really, really obsessed with it, right? From very, very early on.
I did that at 20 when I got into the bodybuilding thing, but me at 15 or 16
Other
was like
16-year-olds are sneaking into pubs.
I was going to say I was breaking into
I was
like
sneaking into
schools
gyms
and things to go skating.
Yeah.
I was breaking into places to go skate there.
I was bringing protein shakes and peanut butter sandwiches to 18th and ducking out to my car when my alarm went off so I could go get my calories in.
Meanwhile, me and friends were just getting chips from like the fish and chip shop, or like plain rolls and like roast chicken.
Bro, I was working at Macca's so I could buy chicken breasts for lunch. Mum's like, I'm not buying 2 chicken breasts a day every day. And I was like, that's cool. So I worked at Macca's. I could buy chicken breast and protein powder and pre-workout. And pre-workout was so bad back then too. I remember getting my first pre-workout and saving my money from like McDonald's, scooping it and being like, and I'm like, oh, all right, here we go.
What was the red one?
Pardon?
There was like a red one.
Yeah, it was like NO Explode.
Yeah.
Yes, I got the worst.
But you had to
flavour. It
put
was
so
terrible.
much
Yeah.
powder in it, and
it
that
was like a
would
big
froth up.
scoop and it would froth. Oh, so bad.
You were probably having them so far back in the day, they probably had steroids in
Oh,
them.
maybe. I hope so.
Because a few of them came out with that in America, apparently. Yeah. I think it was Mark Bell said there was this like orange one that he used to love.
Yeah.
And it had like Diana-Bol in it. Got taken off the shelf, and he's like, it's just not the same anymore.
Would 16-year-old Tyson and 16-year-old Leigh be mates? Would they be mates?
Probably not.
16-year-old Leigh and 34-year-old Leigh would not be mates. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah, 16-year-old me, if he looked at me now and was like, that's what you're going to become.
I don't know. Like 16-year-old me was still like playing guitar in a pop punk band. Like,
Yeah, you haven't changed.
like fucking hair. Yeah. Side fringe, a whole deal. Played in bands. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Multifaceted. But then I pretty much got into powerlifting and like, got into bodybuilding. So I was mostly bodybuilding, trained under like Lucky Hats and Pentalis at Doherty's Dandenong, which was sick. Trained under Scott Goble. So I had some really good bodybuilding coaches, put on a good amount of size, wanted to compete in like natty bodybuilding, and I was like full natty bodybuilding mode, food on point, walk every day, spent $400 a fucking month on supplements and stuff like that, and the whole deal. And then did a novice comp in powerlifting, then did a novice comp in strongman and stuff, and then I was pretty much powerlifting. and Strongman from there. So like, I mean, by the time I had started Strongman, I was like 21 and I had been training for like 6 years. And then from now, when everyone starts a sport, I'm like, well, I've been doing this sport almost 10 years now.
Yeah, but you're an anomaly.
No, yeah, 100%.
No one else has
when
that
people say,
upbringing. But
no.
even like when you went into the gym at home,
Yeah.
like your dad taught you,
Yes.
showed you, gave you the proper book. Like
totally.
that's way more guidance.
Yeah, definitely.
Most people walk in a commercial
Yeah.
gym for like 4 years just going,
Yeah. And
oh, yep, that's good. Sick. Come back tomorrow.
totally, 100%. So I was like, I was super lucky. And when the gym that I had, when I turned 16, I could go get programs. And I had some really good gym instructors because with your membership, you got programs. And because I'd already trained and stuff, they loved me because I was like 16 and like they do my measurements and stuff like that. And they wrote me a program and I would, to the T.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like all my mates would come in and they'd like do a set of curls and go to the sauna, and 2 hours later they'd come out of this pool and I'd still be in the gym leaving with them. So like they would love it because like I had really good guidance really early for like bodybuilding. And like one of the gym instructors there ended up being at the Cats, like strength and conditioning coach, you know, and he was writing my programs for 2 years when I was like young.
Yeah.
So like I had a really lucky or fortunate sort of upbringing, but I also got into it and got after it very early.
Yep.
So this is what I mean when people like start to compare, or novices start to compare against like the pros, and it's like, well, you need to realistically, if you've found Strongman late, right? If you've found Strongman late, or you're only been training for 3 or 4 years in total training time, it's like we're not the same.
Yeah.
So you have to have a realistic expectation around time frame to get good. Do you know what I mean? If someone's got a really long training age or like longer training age, I would say like anywhere between 3 to 5 years, right, to get good, to get like to get elites good, if they've got a good training age and have good potential. But then like I would also say to the same people, like if they don't have a good training age, if they don't move well, if they are relatively new, or they just don't seem like they have the potential, I would say never.
Yeah.
You're never going to be at the top level. So I think that's something that people need to remember as well.
They got in too late. The time's passed.
Yeah. But yeah, I think training age is something that people really forget in terms of like they see people next to them overtaking them or whatever it might be. And it's like, well, the base is bigger. Yeah. Like the time that they've been training, building muscle, how big are they? How much potential do they have? How well do they move? Like there's so many factors there that like, yeah, you're going to get overtaken. Do you know what I mean?
See, if people start really late, my advice would be all the accessories that you do.
Yeah.
Really focus on those.
Because you don't have that 5 years of accessory
You've got a lot
work.
of catching up to do.
Yeah, totally. I see a lot of sandbagging accessories.
Yeah, people fail a yoke because their hips just aren't
they're
strong enough.
Because they're strong men, so they want to do the event work, and then they just kind of like treat it like complimentary accessories. Like bro, you got it. Your accessories are you getting bigger, more jacked, getting stronger. Like that's what they are there for. Like they're important to you.
And there are people that are new in the sport that technically do all the events great. Yeah. Their technique is solid, but they're still not great at it because they just don't have the base.
No, 100%.
So it's like you've perfected all these movements. Now you just need to do the slow part, which is get stronger.
Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, that's the hard thing as well. We talked about this the other day. I think it's much easier to get someone stronger than it is to teach them how to move and be quick.
Yeah.
Like being explosive, being able to move, being athletic is much harder to develop in someone in our realm than it is to just linearly get someone strong and put more load on the bar time after time, over time.
It just takes a long time.
One thing, because I don't want to digress too much, one thing that I think we're absolutely not meaning to dance around between going from intermediate to advanced is like, or pro is drugs.
Yeah.
Like there's just, it's an untested sport. Let's be realistic. If you want to be the best, if you want to compete overseas, I think less so, traditionally less so in the heavyweights. We've got some really good natural heavyweights because you've just got 180 kilo fucking Islanders who are naturally that strong.
Yep.
But I think for the most part, if you're looking at like our heavyweights now and where they're going and overseas, like if you want to compete at World's Strongest Man, if you want to compete at ASM, it's probably a reality that you have to face.
For most people, yeah?
Yeah, for most people. This is, once again, the anomalies are existent, and the anomalies that are not using PEDs, probably if they did, we'd be fucked. If they're already at that level, you know, that's a hard thing as well.
I think my question, and I'm always like, I can never figure it out, is just like, if you want to be the best and you're sacrificing everything,
Yeah.
and you're like, I want to be the best in the world, I'll do anything to get there, I'll eat this, I'll train this, why don't you want to take stuff?
And it's where do you draw that line in the sand? It's like, I'll take everything. I've like, clients will take like fucking SARMs and they'll get an injury and it's like, I'll take BPC 157 and TB 500. And it's like, well,
the guy at that, the IPF comp overseas, so full natural comp, won't take drugs. Before his deadlifts, his coach comes out with a taser.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking tasers him in the arm
no
to
way.
hype him up. No, legit.
There's
like
no
goes.
way.
Tick, 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 tick.
Yeah. We'll
out and
not
lifts the
do a
weight.
drug, but we'll get tasered before a
Yeah.
deadlift. Like, are you?
Right.
Yes. So like, why is that the line? I don't want to get tasered.
Where is your line in the sand? Tasering. But test which my body naturally produces is a no-go.
You can taser me unless there's tren on it. Don't come near me.
Did someone using PEDs use that taser before me? Because I'm not using it. If
Yeah, it's tainted. The same with like back slaps, ammonia. Like people will do everything they possibly can to lift more weight, but then that's the line that they
There's
draw.
obvious reasons why. Do you know what I mean? Like everyone's different. Everyone reacts different. Everyone has different.
We can go on the
lines in
rabbit.
the
We can
sand
go in the
morally
we can go in
and-
the rabbit hole.
Yeah,
of what
and
you're
like
taught
side
is
effects
legal and not legal.
Yeah, I mean, legal, not legal is obviously one thing. Then there's like side effects and all the other things. Like there's a lot of reasons why people shy away from it, whether it's educated or uneducated. I think as well.
Oh, actually, someone said it the other day. They were like, "Oh, look, I'm just worried about it because, like, how do you even know that that's what it is? Like, I'd just be worried that I'd get something and it's not what it is, or the dose is wrong. Like, how do you even know that that's it? How do you test it?
Well, there's testing companies.
Yeah, and I'm like, how do you know you're not gonna get food poisoning or salmonella from eating a burger at the shops?
I think the wildest thing is
Like, how do you know that the Panadol you're taking is Panadol? I'm like, there's a certain level of just like trust in what you're eating and what you're taking and everything like that.
Farmers fucking way worse. But I mean, don't get me down the conspiracy big pharma line.
But it's the thought of like, oh, that's.
I'll go take the Pfizer vaccine because the government's telling me. We got no fucking ideas. May as well be made in a bathtub.
Yeah. Imagine if it was Tren.
Yeah. Fucking watch the gene pool grow.
Yeah.
I mean, like my big thing that I get like a little bit confused about is so many people who will like say that to me. Like, I know that they'll fucking go do ketamine on the weekend. Like, I know they'll go buy a bag or like early 20s, like seeing people pick up pills off the floor that someone's dropped and put it in their mouth. I'm like, you can't be telling me that you give a fuck because I know you intimately. I've seen you.
That's where you see the pictures of like the holistic, like
Yeah,
vegan
yeah,
health person. That's like, I don't eat GMOs, and it's like you eat a lot of acid on the weekend.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like
Everyone's got a different line.
Everyone's got a different line. Like I get it, but like we're all adults. Like a majority of the adults that I know have done a party drug in their life. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's smoked pot, you know what I mean? Like whether it's like pot or like they've done mushies or they've done psychedelics or they've done something harder, whether it's like cocaine or ketamine or speed or whatever it is. A lot of adults that I know, if not like 90%, like there's very few people that, I mean, maybe it's my circles in fairness, but there's very few people that I know as adults that in their adult lives up to like 30 or 40 have never touched a party drug or something along those lines. And that's their line. Like, but it's the same. Like, and like there's competitors that I know that might not. They're like, oh, I won't do performance drugs, but I'll do anything to be the best.
Yeah,
but then
the
also
same
do that
people
on
that
the
are like, I won't smoke weed, and then now it becomes legal, and they're like, oh yeah, I'll smoke weed all the time, and it's like, that's not your morals.
Yeah, so
you're just doing what you're told.
And I'm not like a pop. Like I don't smoke weed. Like I would never really because I just don't see the benefit. Like
No.
do you know what I mean? Like I just see that as. Anyway, different discussion, but like different line. That's my line in the sand, right? Like, so yeah, I think everyone has a different line in the sand, but I think it's important for people to remember not to get off track. That if you want to be the best, there is a point where you'll probably have to make a decision around performance enhancing drugs. And my best advice is just to be educated in yourself. What's that documentary Mark Bell's?
The old one.
Yeah, like
Bigger, faster,
bigger, stronger, faster.
Yeah.
That's like a very swayed for argument in terms of a documentary. But I think it's also just important to get a bunch of different perspectives and weigh it up for yourself. Talk to people that you trust and their experiences. I think
he goes into other sports as well.
Yeah, totally.
He goes
and I think
into
people have their head in the
fitness,
sand.
he goes into cycling.
Fitness, cycling, track athletics. Like people think it's like strongman and powerlifting, and it's just not. Like it's just like performance enhancing drugs are a part of sport because you're talking about people that have the mentality inherently that they want to be the best and that will do anything to be the best. And if you put intrinsic or extrinsic fucking motivating factors in front of them, they want to be the best and they'll do anything for it.
People will eat everything they possibly can to hope that their test goes up. People will go on an altitude chamber.
They'll eat bull testicles to help their testosterone levels.
Okay,
Like,
so drawing lines in the
yeah,
sand.
that's my line in the sand.
That's it.
That's my line in the sand.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I think people have their heads in the sand in terms of like how ripe it is. And personally,
But that's the sport here.
yeah, but
It's different overseas.
and I don't have a problem with it. I think that it's wrong to do it. If you've said, I do solemnly swear that I'm like competing in a tested federation or a sport that I've deemed that it's not allowed, then you should not fucking do it and you shouldn't show up and do that. But like there's sports specifically that are there where it's like, we don't really care. Do what you want. We don't test you because we know that there's no, like if you go to World's Strongest Man, there's no World's Strongest Man. No one gives a fuck if they start testing athletes. So they just don't. And it's just like that unwritten rule, right? There's like
They do health checks.
They do health checks. Yeah, my first Arnold's, we had to do a health check. The very first Arnold's.
Puchanowski test for
Amphetamines. No, he got caught doing amphetamines at 10. I think he got banned for something along those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking psych up. Better than salts, apparently.
But even the tested ones, like say IPF, they have strict regulations on testing, but each country tests people at a different rate.
Yeah.
So some countries are like onto it all the time because they can afford to do it. And then some countries don't do it as much and there's no regulation. So that's a sport that is based on we test everybody. But they don't test everybody.
Our first Arnold's here, we had to go get tested. Not for performance drugs. They said that they could test us for amphetamines. And we had to go get a like heart check basically.
Yep.
And that was pretty much it. Like we had to get like I think there was like a doctor sign off or something like that, like blood pressure, all that sort of stuff, and
just
also like also a heart check to make sure that like all the athletes were happy and healthy enough to compete. So I don't think that's a bad idea at the top level. To be fair, like I think that's a good check in the balance to make sure that everyone is happy and healthy because people certainly do push it.
I think everyone needs to realize, like everyone sits there going, why can't we have a tested federation? Why can't we do this? People don't realize how expensive testing is.
So expensive.
And it's not a thing where they just go, here's your blood, we're just going to throw it in a machine and it's just going to list out everything that's in there. Yeah. They have to specifically test for each thing.
Cost money.
Which is why someone like Ricky Garrard gets through at regionals.
Yeah.
Because he was taking some sort of type thing. Regionals only tested for 30 compounds that could be helping his sport. The games test for more.
It's like the AFL. Like
so if they don't test for that specific thing.
It doesn't matter what sport. They have to test for a specific thing, and if you know what they're testing for, you can dodge it and take the other thing. It's like Bomber Thompson or whatever the dude's name was, Peter Dank. Yeah, there was a few interviews where he said, and like, I just find it fascinating that people forget about this. He literally said, my job wasn't to do anything but to figure out ways around the testing. Like my job was to tell them what to take and to figure out ways around the testing. And that's what I was employed to do. And people go, oh, AFL's such a wholesome sport. Like, oh, track and field, so wholesome, these sprinters.
How weird is football? And like the NRL did the same as
people
the AFL.
People just forget because it's like they're golden boys. Like, and it's like
one team goes down.
Yeah.
And instantly everyone's just like, oh, they're cheaters. It's so bad. And it's like, that's the one team that got caught
Yeah.
first. They got caught
You
first.
got caught first. Yeah.
And everyone went,
100%. Because
throw it out.
Peter Dank wasn't good at his job dodging the testing. Was that the
not
whole
as-
thing?
not as good as the
Yeah,
others.
not as good as the others, right?
Yeah, can you imagine how many other clubs would have like tightened ship after seeing that? They're
Of
like,
course.
Oh, we need to like
Yeah,
change
and they
it.
just changed
Yeah.
whatever it was.
Yeah,
That would, but
100%.
they run off and get cortisone injections
CrossFit
mid-games.
run their own. Yeah, totally.
Like they run off and their shoulders buggered and they get a cortisone injection and they send them back on.
Yeah,
Why is that okay? It's actually like a corticosteroid
exactly.
and it's put in their shoulder, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's performance enhancing.
Yeah, and everyone knows it. Everyone
Everyone
knows it.
Draw the line, right?
Yeah.
It's
They
whole
watch the
thing.
guy run back out and they're like, yeah, my sports guy's back out again. They just gave him a shot. Why is that okay?
Yeah, it's a good point.
They just
Lines
give
in the sand, man.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's morality, and I totally understand
he
it.
gets
I get
tired,
it, but
they just give him a taser
yeah.
and he runs back out.
Wake up! yeah,
Cow product
yeah.
behind farmers.
Sport is all just like us deciding where we draw the line in the sand, and that's an arbitrary board of people deciding what and what is not safe, not safe, what is natural, what is not natural. Like,
Yeah.
well, it's all enhancing. A lot of it is enhancing what we already have in our bodies anyway.
So I have a theory with like the top pro strongman in terms of that. The guys that are super consistent across multiple comps and they seem to compete well and they do well are more modest with what they take, or
Yeah,
at
sure.
least they're smarter and they have doctors and they have a plan.
Yeah.
The guys that smash a comp, get injured, or just turn up and come ninth and everyone's like, what happened to them?
Yeah.
They're weak. They're crap.
Yeah.
And then they have an absolute blinder.
Yeah.
Other guys that either just go too
Slow and
hard
steady over time is.
or have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I reckon there's a huge, because everyone's like, what do the pros take? What do the pros take? And it's like, there's one of them that probably takes less than,
People
than
just
an
think
old
it's-
guy on hormone replacement
Yeah,
therapy. And there's probably somebody else that is like treating themselves like an elephant.
Yeah.
And you won't know. And you'll never know.
Well, you will know because someone like Eddie Hall does one competition and then fades off to the dark because he can't do that again. Because it's not a
Yeah,
healthy,
but you still don't
sustainable way.
know how much or what.
Mm.
And that's, you can sit there and just wish that you knew, but you're never going to
Nah.
know.
No.
So you just stop worrying about it.
So we've got to become a novice to a pro. You've got persistence. We've got some sacrifice. We need some genetics. You've got to understand that your training age and time with a barbell or time doing a thing is a huge, huge factor.
Yeah.
If you're making the league from intermediate to advanced, you'll probably come to a point or a crossroads where you decide whether you want to sacrifice or make a sacrifice or have develop some understanding around PEDs and whether that's something you do or do not want to do, and whether you realistically have the capacity to be at the best level or the top level with or without, because there are some of you listening or some people that will, and there are some that probably won't be able to make that cross or that like next step.
And that's
without.
fine.
And that's fine also. And then you just make a decision. If you don't want to do that, then you decide that like at the intermediate level and competing for myself and for the community and being part of that is for me, because I think the next thing that we were going to talk about is as sports get bigger, we don't look at the top sports, whether it's being going to the Olympics or playing in the NRL or the fucking NFL or NHL in hockey or whatever it is. We don't look at that as like everyone can attain that. We kind of know or acknowledge that not everyone can be at that level, right? Where in strongman, everyone's trying to get to the Arnolds.
Yep.
Everyone's trying, like everyone who starts, everyone's like first year in, I want to hit the Australian stone record and I want to go to the Arnolds.
Heard that a lot.
Yeah. like you don't fucking deserve to yet.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like that's the hard truth that people need to understand is
And
like
you might not actually want
yeah,
to.
when you started in Oz Kick and then played under 12s, did you like maybe you're delusional at under 12s that you could maybe play AFL? But surely there comes to a point where you're like under 16s, under 18s, and you're playing fucking Bs that you realize that like I'm probably not going to play AFL because not everyone can play AFL, and you've also got to realize that like it's okay to still play reserves and fucking seniors on the weekend for fun.
Yeah.
All right, that's cool. That's probably the best analogy that I can think of, being Victorian, not New South Wales. Sorry, but like that's okay. You know what I mean? Like when the sport gets bigger and more people do it, and the talent pool gets larger, you're gonna have to realize that people are gonna have to start to realize that like not everyone's goal, or everyone's goal can be to be the Arnolds, but like it's not realistic for everybody, or it's not realistic for everyone to be at AI or Clash, because there's so many people and so many spots, and probably a vast majority are just never going to be good enough.
Yeah, I think CrossFit's a good sport for that because it came on so quickly.
Great sport. Huge pull.
But the quality is so deep.
Yes.
So many people are going and doing CrossFit, but there's so many that are
and
just
invest
like
everything into it.
Yeah, but there's a lot that just realize like I'm not going to regionals.
Yeah.
But they also get to do the open every year.
Yeah.
So they get that ranking where they're like,
Yeah, true.
I'm 15,000th
Yeah.
male between the ages of
And
30
they're
and
cool with
35.
that. And that's cool. Like they get to be
Yeah.
part of the community. They get to go get after it. They get to go compete with the people that are at the level.
They
and
still
have
get to do
fun. And
comps, but
I mean, everyone's got their own little like spots, you know. Like
Yeah.
if like we're competing at middle series and when we know the guys that we compete against, we have some banter with those guys and stuff. Doesn't mean that the next level down when you're competing against the people that you should be trying to get ahead of,
Yeah.
there's a bit of banter and you have your own little game, you know.
well, should I stop trying to get stronger because I can't beat John Hack?
I've thought about it.
Like that's the same comparison.
Yeah.
It's just like
I'm never going to be John Hack.
I can't deadlift 400 kilos at 95
I'll
kilos.
give up. Yeah.
Yeah, what's the point?
Never going to be the best.
Yeah, I'm not going to look like that either.
No.
Doesn't matter what I take or what I do or how I train.
No.
He's a freak.
He's the best.
But should I stop?
Yes.
Or should I not try to
I'm
get
thinking
there?
about it.
I know I'm not going to get there. That's just age.
Yeah, it's probably age.
That's because you're, what, a week and a half out from being a dad. So
I'm playing for dad's strength. I'm playing for something.
dad's strength.
He's not doing shit.
Yeah.
It's like hard for a kid. Dad's strength to kick in.
When's that old man strength coming?
Yeah, come on.
Whereas,
Shit.
Yeah, so like I'm not going to be that strong.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can be stronger than what I am now.
Yes.
But he's just
Another world.
messed up.
Yeah,
and that's
100%.
just one person.
His demons
So-
are darker.
Yeah, I think everyone thinks that they're just never going to be at some level, but
Yeah.
like everyone, just about everyone has that level to someone else.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. Yeah, everyone's
everyone's
chasing
just
someone.
like, you're messed up.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you're like,
You're so strong. It's like, yeah, but there's this guy.
I'm like, yeah, but my whole Instagram feed tells me
Tells
that
me I'm
not.
weak. Yeah. My whole Instagram's full of people. And that's reality. And I talk about that with coaching and stuff as
Yeah.
well. Like I talk to our coaches. Like we have some what I consider like in the gym, like intermediately strong people, right?
Mm.
And their clients are like novice intermediates. And it's like if you're advanced strong, like let's say like a lot of our clients, they're like intermediate advanced competitors.
Yep.
Because we're advanced level competitors.
Yep.
It's like you pick the coach that's like at your next level, or your whole Instagram feed is like my Instagram feed is like the people like just above that level, because it's like it's like, oh cool, like these people are like a little bit stronger. I'm sort of watching those guys.
Yep.
Where it's like if you're looking for a coach, it's like, oh yeah, I sort of get the guy that's like at the next level to me, and it's the same thing as like sort of what we're talking about, where it's those people just at that next level. They're the people
Yeah.
that you sort of like probably look at or hang around. You're not looking at John Hack, and I think that's the important thing.
Yeah.
You can if you really like you have big ambitions, but good luck.
You can look at plenty of people as long as it doesn't deter you.
Yeah,
Or
for
knock
sure.
you back.
Understanding that, yeah.
But yeah, you don't need a coach that's been where you want to be,
Yes,
but it's
sure as
really
helps.
helpful.
Yeah,
It's really helpful.
I think
'cause-
people forget this.
yeah.
Like, I get
Because they're like, you don't have to be a great athlete to be a great coach. And it's like, true. But if you're a terrible athlete and you don't move well, you're probably not going to be able to teach a really advanced person how to move better just because you can look at it. Because you don't know how it feels. You don't know how to adjust things. Like, if you don't know how to play tennis, you probably can't coach it and coach like Serena
Yeah.
Williams.
I mean, her dad didn't play pro tennis or whatever, and sort of started her, but
Mm.
I agree. And like, I do agree that you don't have to be the best athlete to be a great coach, but fuck, it helps.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I just think it helps from like an empathy point of view.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm a strength coach and I'm weak as fuck, right? I don't know what it feels like to go through a hard prep.
Yep.
Because I'm not strong enough to know what it means to go through a hard prep. And I know it's all relative. Like, it's like, yeah, everyone's max is their max. It's not fucking all relative. Like, you're living under gravity. Like, if it's either heavy or it's not heavy. And it's either you're a strength coach and you're relatively strong and you go through a prep and like, I understand you feel fatigued and like it's tough and it's hard for you, but like it's not. That's not being an asshole. I don't mean to be an asshole, but unless you're pulling over 300 every week, putting a 400 kilo yoke on your back, lifting stones over 180 every week, and you're fucking tired and you're feeling beaten up because it is just truly heavy and the comps that you're doing are truly heavy and hard. Like, it's like, if I'm asking a client to go through the valley of death, like, know that I've walked it before as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I think we both pride ourselves on that.
Yeah.
Like, whatever I've given you,
Yes,
I've done.
it.
I won't give you something messed up and be like, stop complaining. I'm like, I've done it.
Yeah, like, I feel I'm super zapped at this. Like, I'm 2 weeks out from prep. I know like there's taper coming and there's a deload coming.
Yeah.
Because I know that you'll need more than 1 week to deload from this and come in. We will taper and we will deload. But right now, like, it's supposed to be heavy and hard because you're not strong enough for this comp and we need to push you there.
Yeah.
And I've been not strong enough for comps and I've pushed myself there and it sucks and it hurts and it's uncomfortable and it's tiring and you wake up and you can't walk properly or you wake up and you've just got those like puffy little eyes all day, you know, like when you're tired all the fucking time. But like, we have empathy. Like, I'm asking you to do stuff, but like, I don't know how to coach. I don't know how I would go coaching not knowing what that feels like.
Yeah. Like, if... You know how when there's so many people that aren't great at, say, like overheads, super common one.
Yeah.
So, no, but like such a disparity that they can clean the weight effortless over and over. They don't even need to warm up to get the weight to their shoulders. And then they're just missing presses because their shoulders aren't strong enough. So that day for them is pretty light on their body. They can pick up the log. They can throw the log up. They can clean it. They can sit there. They can take a breath. Every time I train log, like at the moment, because it's peaking towards a max, I have to deadlift and front squat 130, 140 kilos.
Multiple times.
Yeah, and the day before deadlifts and the day after deadlifts and twice a week. Yeah. It sucks.
Yeah. But if your max was 100 kilos.
If my max was 100 and I could just whip it up and my squats and my lower body strength was huge, it'd be an easy day.
Yeah.
So it's the same with powerlifting and stuff like that too. People that bench massive and then have to squat big and then deadlift somewhere in that as well. Like, you eventually get to a certain strength where it's like, why can't you do 5 sets at 85%?
Yeah. I'm programming huge volume.
It's 85%. You should be fine.
Yeah.
It's like, no. Yeah. It's a lot of weight on the body.
Yeah, totally. Like, you got to understand the differences between programming and we won't even talk about this like next time. But like, talking about the difference about programming for like a novice to a pro in terms of like the amount of sheer volume and work you can do as like a novice intermediate when you're not strong. To like how sparingly you need to program intensity when it gets very heavy. And people are sort of understanding, especially like powerlifting coaches pretending to... I'm being an asshole again. Powerlifting coaches programming for strongman, not understanding that every day is full body.
Did you say programming or pretending?
I said pretending to program for strongman.
Yeah. Just want to make that clear.
Yeah. That like every day is full body. You don't understand that. Like, if you've never done it, you don't understand how taxing it is. And like, we've got some coaches in here who did a strongman comp, and they were like, this is fucked. Yeah. Because you go from like, you get to lie down on the bench twice a week if your frequency twice a week or 3 times a week. Where in our sport, like, you deadlift and then you come in and you log press and you have to clean the log and you have to clean the axle and you have to do a stone and you have to do push press and like, fuck it, like every day is full body. Like, your lower body day is yoke, for example, and then that's super neurally taxing, and you got to come in and deadlift that week and everything else.
And your light events, your conditioning, your carries, sandbag carries. You have to pick it up off the ground.
Back, hamstrings, pull, everything's
and then
full
you have
body.
to carry it.
Everything's full body. There's no rest days.
Yeah.
There's no chest day, back day, leg day. It's every day is full body day. So to manage that and to manage fatigue and stuff like that, having walked the path gives you a whole heap of empathy for your clients, but also it helps you understand how to program and what they will be experiencing because you have done it.
there is a lot more freedom in how you program and structure things, whereas powerlifting, like, you squat, bench, and deadlift through the week. And if your elbow's playing up, you still have to squat, bench, and deadlift through the week. You can't get around it, and it beats up the same joints.
If you're competing, if you have a comp coming up.
Yeah.
My fucking forearm felt like shit, and I had to clean an axle every week.
Yeah. But if you're a coach that's been there, or you're a smart enough coach, or you know what you're doing, you can restructure things around to at least make it slightly better.
Yeah, for sure.
You can be like, okay, we'll flip the yoke. We'll do light, heavy weeks.
Yeah, for sure.
Or we'll do it every second week, or every third week. We'll like rotate things around. We'll move things around so that your knee doesn't keep dying.
Yeah.
Or you shift focus on a good event, a bad event.
Because you probably had to manage it yourself.
Yeah, which is like what we said last time, where you just don't train an event that you know you've got in the bag as much as the thing that you need a lot more work on.
You essentially don't need to.
Yeah.
I can't remember how we started that. What were we talking about when we started that?
Don't know.
Can't
Drugs.
remember.
Drugs.
The last
Tasers.
The last thing that we were going to talk about was, I think we've already touched on it a fair bit, which is the motivation side of things, from like going from novice to intermediate to advanced. We spoke about. I think we've already spoken about it a little bit throughout the podcast anyway, but the motivation to keep going or to keep persevering during the times where beginner to intermediate is a fun, nice stage, and then intermediate to advanced is a little bit of, that's a long period. You know, beginner to intermediate is 12 to 18 months.
Yep.
Realistically, it's like learning the events, becoming good, blah, blah, blah. Then intermediate to advanced might be 5 years.
Yeah, I swear it took me like 2 years of getting like a 270 deadlift.
Yeah.
To finally getting 300.
I think
or it took 3 years or something. It took so long.
Perfect example. Like hitting your head against the wall.
Failing. Over and over and being like, well, that 8 weeks was for nothing.
And then suddenly 30 kilos comes on the bar.
Yeah. Yeah, it's never linear.
Yeah, it's never.
As much as it, in the long scheme of things, it is.
It does this, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's strength isn't linear in the short term, but in the long term, it should kind of sort of be steadily heading upwards. But in those periods of 12 months, you'll have peaks and troughs where you're slightly above, slightly below, blah, 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 alternating the whole way through. It just kind of like comes and goes as your training cycles change, volumes, intensities change, periods change, life circumstances change.
Yeah, the motivation thing is, it's that whole like internal motivation.
Mm-hmm.
You need something inside that's not from like external factors.
Something intrinsic, long term.
Good test. Go and do like a 10-week training block. Don't post anything. Train at 10 p.m. at night when no one's in the gym.
I'm out.
Don't play music.
Yeah.
And see how you go.
Mm-hmm.
And see if you enjoy it. See if you can keep training hard, or if you just slack off and you're like, this sucks. What's the point?
Yeah.
It's like, well, you're probably never going to be a pro or the best in the world at it. Because someone somewhere will just do that.
Yeah, someone does have that.
Well, something will kick in and you'll be like, no one's watching, but I need to do this.
I guess like the extrinsic motivation side of stuff can be fickle. I think that's like the big take home, right?
Yeah.
It's like
it helps, absolutely. If you're in a gym and everyone else is training and pushing hard.
But it can be taken away very quickly, and then what are you left with?
Yeah. It's a good addition to.
Yes.
You go train with people, you've got a comp coming up, you've got posts, you get like validation, you get likes.
But it's not the post you tie your motivation to.
Yeah. If you need to come into the gym at 4:30 every week to hit deadlifts so that everybody can watch you and that you get motivated enough to try, the second all of that's gone, you're going to fall apart.
Yep. I like it.
It's good and it helps. I'm way stronger here than if I was just training at home.
Yeah.
That is just a fact.
Yeah.
Way stronger.
Yeah, it definitely
You're
helps.
like, what's the iron sharpens iron?
Yeah.
Thing and
like
stuff
all
like
ships
that.
rise with the tide.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that I
Definitely
use often.
huge factors.
Yeah.
But like if that's the only thing keeping you going, like you will struggle.
Yeah, I agree.
Because as those things come and go and drop off.
An interplay of both is nice, but internally you have to have like the motivation there to like want to be the best or have the commitment. And it's that real basic
or you just want to suffer.
Bitch post, yeah.
Whatever it is, or you just want to hurt.
You like hurting a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah, it can be something terrible
Yeah.
from a negative place.
Yeah.
Everyone's
As
different.
long as you win, right? That's what we said. We don't care about your mental health. We don't care about your physical health. We care that you win.
Yeah.
It's not true at all, but...
If someone jumps on board and they're like, I want to be the best,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, then those things don't matter.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean,
If
part of
someone's like,
coaching
I
is
want to get
obviously
into it and have...
fostering, making sure that... Obviously, if all things are going out of control in the external, often it does mean that the training things aren't happening as well as they could.
Yeah.
But so part of coaching is kind of managing that as like a personal level, as a personal friend and coach. But agreed, like at the end of the day, it really is like, what are you harnessing intrinsically to drive the progress? There's positive ways to do that. There's negative ways to do that, but whatever works for the individual. I think it shifts.
Yeah.
I think like very early on, mine was like, and I think the positive place is the better place to be from. Like I think like early on, it's a fantastic driver.
Yeah.
Like ego, like lack of self-worth or value, like a need to prove yourself.
Yeah, constant comparison.
Like it's a huge and fantastic driver, a very negative driver.
Yeah.
But a fantastic driver to get you very good very quickly, because like it's everything, right? Like it's like if you're not good enough and you inherently feel not good enough, or that you want to be the best, or that you need to fill this hole, then you fucking dig to fill that hole real hard, because it's an itch that just doesn't feel like it could ever get scratched enough, right?
Does that run out at the intermediate level? Because I don't know many people at the top that are
like
still
in that space. Yeah, I tend to agree.
They've turned it around a little bit.
I think it definitely, once you hit that intermediate level, I think still in the intermediate level, because you're looking at guys that are at the advanced level. I think when you're truly strong, it does shift, because suddenly you're kind of there. And it's like, oh, fuck. Like, then you're going to have to figure out what the purpose of what you're training is.
There's still a lot of pride. There's still ego.
Yeah,
but
there's still
you're
pride
not walking
and
up to
ego.
a deadlift being like, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, well, I've kind of got everything sorted now.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Well, it's also age. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe if I was still training, maybe I wouldn't have that if I was training at 30, but like at early 20s and stuff like that, with some tumultuous life circumstances in my early years. Like, you know what I mean? Like you carry trauma, or you carry like chips on your shoulders about like where you're up to in that point of time. And I think it is a great driver, where I think like even if I had started at 30, maybe I would have figured out things enough and been at peace with myself enough to not
train so hard.
To not have that, right? But that's probably not great unless I'd had another really, really strong driver. Like now when I look at like purpose of why I'm doing it, it's to lead a younger generation of lifters. It's to try and teach people to do it better. It's because it's my fucking job. I don't have a choice. Like this is my job. This is what I've decided that my job is. So my job is to maintain being strong and to help others do so, right? So that's a big driver, is like to lead from the front, because I want to be a great leader. Like now it's like, okay, well, like I want my son to see what the fruits are from working hard and training and competing and stuff like that. And I want to set the example. So the purpose changes. But definitely when I was younger, I was scratching an itch that couldn't be scratched, and it wasn't a good one. But I do think long term, the results from longevity, like when you look at he who stays in the longest gets the strongest, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a really good way, that negative side, like scratching that itch is a really good way to burn bright but fast.
Yep.
And I think as long as you can switch that at a pivotal time, or at a good time, that you can stay in longer by having a more positive reason and purpose for what you're doing.
Yep. Maybe that's where everyone struggles. They get to a certain level and all that negative talk and that reason to prove themselves.
Yeah, and they can't switch the
and no
reason.
Self-worth.
Yeah.
And they can't switch the reason.
Yeah.
And then they eventually just burn
Potentially.
out.
Yeah. Who knows?
Or they're just like, stuff this.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
I just can't compete at that level because my life falls apart.
Yeah, that's a very big one. Is like preps are always.
I can't do a big prep again because everything fell
else
apart.
falls apart. Well, then that's probably saying where things are coming from for you.
You're at that turning point where you've got to flip it around.
Yeah, or get out, or you probably go to something else that you're putting negative energy into because you're not learning a lesson.
Yeah.
anyways, that's a bit more life focused.
Yeah.
But I mean, intrinsic motivation being a key driver, knowing where that intrinsic motivation is coming from, whether it's like a negative or positive light, and probably long term, flipping it into something positive is maybe the ideal. Extrinsic motivation is still super helpful. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Community,
massively.
having you yelling at me is a great motivation. Do you know what I mean? Having you beat me all the time at log is a great motivation sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Like there's extreme, like Instagram, social media, like there is like, ego is not a bad thing. It's just something to keep into check, or something to understand, and know its place. Yeah, I think. But it definitely is a driver. You're in an individual sport, not a team sport. You're out here for yourself. There's a level of narcissism involved. There's a little like level of ego and pride in what you're doing, because it is you against the other dude next to you, which is something that's cool about it, something that you have to keep in check and monitor, but something that you should be understanding of as well.
Yeah. It can all be taken good or bad.
Yeah, you can wrap it however you like, really.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want. That's the short of it. Go be strong, but do whatever you want.
Do whatever you want.
Do it however however pleases
take
you.
whatever you want. Bring a taser to comps.
Do drugs, don't do drugs. But if you want to be the best, like, I mean, like we're talking about how to go from novice to pro, just understand that it's a journey. Like it's like there is no shortcuts. And they're like, oh, PEDs are. No, there's not. Like you can be, you have to be genetically gifted or not genetically gifted, and then that determines like how hard you'll have to work long time and how long you're gonna have to put into it. But like talking about sacrifice, talking about like training age, talking about what else did we talk about? What were your three things? I can't remember them. Do we remember his three things?
Training age,
genetics, sacrifice.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot that comes into that factor or that ingredients list that makes a professional or advanced athlete. But I think the big one is, the biggest one is consistency over time. Always trumps everything. Showing up, whether you feel motivated or not, showing up whether training's going well or not, showing up whether doesn't matter.
I've got athletes that have shown up for 6 weeks and been like, I just don't feel like it. I'm just doing the bare minimum. And then end up getting a PB at the end of it. And I'm like, you just showed up. Like,
I've showed up for months not liking it.
Don't underestimate.
Yeah.
You feel like you're not going hard enough. Yeah. But don't underestimate like what moderately hard does.
Yeah. 100%.
In terms of building strength. Yeah. And technique.
And just consistency. Like, what's the difference between not doing that time or 6 weeks and doing that time at moderate?
Yeah.
Big difference. So showing up consistently. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, there is no perfect path to walk if you want to go from novice to advanced, and not everyone will be able to walk the full journey anyway.
Yeah.
But I think it's knowing some of the factors that you might come up against, and just understanding that I think the biggest fault that I see people doing is just trying to speed the process up too fast.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's because the sport's still relatively young.
Yeah, and people are pushing because it's quite heavy and stuff at the moment. The sport's developing. Probably,
and people get into it late.
Yeah, outrunning the game, and they're seeing people at the top and they're getting into it late, and then they're trying to sort of play catch up.
Yeah.
That's
people get into it at 30 and they're like, well, I'm screwed at 40. I've got 10 years.
Yeah.
I need to go as hard as I can.
Yeah, which there's some pros to and some cons to. But yeah, I mean, I think we've covered a fair bit in terms of like the journey from, or like at least our journeys from going from like novice to pros. And hopefully that helps give some insight into how you can close the gap or complete that journey. Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Sick.
Done.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you in a fortnight's time for another episode of the Strongman Say.
Sweet.